Hello and good evening and welcome to News at 10. We are live on TV3 and also on 3FM 92.7. We're also streaming on the Facebook and on 3news.com. Let's start the day with the day's news highlights. 9 suspected illegal miners, including a female, have been arrested for allegedly mining in the Jemera Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region. The Nkawie District Forest Office says it has intensified a clampdown on the Galamsey operators who have devised new strategies to defy government directive for all small-scale mining activities to halt. The Accra-Tema motorway has become a new destination for dumping waste. Waste collectors from the Accra were told drop rubbish along the motorway instead of going to home because of the distance and the fees involved. This has led to the springing up of mini dump sites along the 22-kilometer stretch. Calm has been restored at the Kumasi Academy Senior High School after fear gripped some students about the death of 2 of their colleagues. School authorities are entreating parents and guardians not to be worried about the security of their wards because, according to them, they are in safe hands. Meanwhile, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo says government is investing in education and skills training to reduce youth migration. The president said the willingness of the youth to cross the Sahara and to seek greener pasture is as a result of the absence of industrial development. He was speaking at the speech and prize giving day of Kumasi Academy Senior High School in the Ashanti region. Thanks so much for your time with us. Those of you watching us from the Upper East region, if you're watching us from Kintampo in the Bonafo region, if you're with us from Winneba in the Central region, this is your show. Let's start with the big one. This is where we're starting from. Guests on the Saturday edition of A New Day expressed disquiet about processes government used in rescuing Ghanaians from Libya. Former Deputy Trade Minister Murtala Mohammed believes the process, if not properly coordinated, could lead to terrorists infiltrating the country.
A United States of America ambassador was killed. The faces of those who attacked the embassy, in fact, attacking an embassy itself is a serious crime under the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations. They attacked the embassy. They didn't just attack the embassy, they killed the ambassador. The faces of those people are known. Why is it that America, with all the military might and other, they haven't been? So Libya is not as simple as we look at it. The point you made that I think is of interest and which we need to look at has to do with the screening. And mine is not just about the health or the psychological position of the people. There is ISIS in Libya.
Security risk, totally.
There is Al-Qaeda in Libya.
Totally.
Now, have we asked our question as to those who are coming home? How long have each of them been in Libya? How did they go to Libya? Did they join ISIS? So it is not only the Minister of Gender, which I agree, the National Security ought to have been involved. In fact, the first thing they ought to have done, when I was watching it, frankly speaking, I was assuming that all these things would have been done. I am shocked. When I was watching it, I thought that the first thing that government would have done, house these people, interrogate them, investigate these people, do proper screening. And I can tell you that you would have identified those of them who have been indoctrinated. Look, there is no doubt in anybody's mind that there has been recruitment of Ghanaians. You remember there were some students from KNUST. There have been recruitment of Ghanaians to Libya to join ISIS.
It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it's possible.
To join ISIS. Now these people, if they now know that there is a plan to bring Ghanaians home, now assuming that someone has joined ISIS, he has been operating. He feels uncomfortable because he thinks that his life is now threatened. He sees an opportunity to come home. Such a person would come home. And I can tell you, in instances like what happened in Turkey, when they opened the gates for people to move in Europe, you know, initially German and others, then ISIS themselves allowed some of their people to go in as refugees. And they went in these European countries to set up cells, either for recruitment or for attacks.
Right, so let's stay on this issue and speak to the founder and the executive director of the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, Emmanuel Coutinho. He's just joined me via Skype. Good evening, sir. Grateful for your time. Let's begin from here. In your own assessment, how should the screening for these returnees, how should that have been done for the sake of ensuring that there is absolute security from the returnees from Libya?
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your very cherished viewers. In fact, the standard practice is situations of this nature. First and foremost, if let's assume Ghana had a diplomatic mission in Libya. Unfortunately, because of the condition in Libya, we didn't have one. It was closed down. And I think Malta had concurrent oversight responsibility over Libya. They would have done their background checks to make sure that all the returnees are Ghanaians. But let us not make a mistake. Having a Ghanaian passport does not mean you're actually a Ghanaian. We are all in this country, and we know how it is easy to acquire Ghanaian passports. And for convenience, and for the fact that Ghanaians enjoy some sort of leverage in the international communities, you see other African countries, citizens coming into Ghana and having Ghanaian passport for the purposes of traveling. What is so interesting about this discussion is that, you see, it is a politician making a very excellent assessment of the security threat these people could pose to Ghana. So I want to urge all other policy makers in government who have oversight responsibility in some of these things to depoliticize the situation and pay heed. If you realize when Murtala was speaking, the other panelists could not help but agree with all the things he said. So as part of the processes, like I mentioned from Libya, when these deportees arrive into the country, we have what we call comfort homes. Comfort homes is where you keep these deportees. Then you call the security agencies to come and debrief them. You call psychologists to come. Obviously, they've gone through some kind of trauma. But in our part of the world, it doesn't exist. But if you look at the international convention, Ghana is supposed to have this kind of the comfort homes I'm talking about. But you see, I have always spoken, and I say that in our part of the world, we always react to situations. We don't prepare ahead of situations. But how long are we going to continue to be reactive to situations than being proactive to such situations?
Emmanuel.
We have a major situation on our hands. And let us not make a mistake.
Okay.
Europe is facing the same problem as we talk. When they gave leeway to these refugees and the terrorist cells find the opportunity in sending their members up there.
Emmanuel,
in Ghana,
I'm not cutting in, but indulge me. Now we have sent these persons back to their homes without the comfort homes you spoke about. What can we do with the situation we have created for ourselves?
I think it's a very, very dangerous thing the government have done. I'm sure when they brought them to the airport for political expediency, maybe buses were arranged for those who are coming from the various regions to go home. And you see, these people spent a lot of money to go through very hazardous way to get to Libya with so many expectations. Now they are coming back empty-handed. And you know, an angry man is an angry man. You don't know the motive some of them are returning with. So it's much we say that the government have already left the cat out of the bag. To trace these people will be impossible. And even if you look at our part of the world, how are you going to trace them? If you even make radio announcement, you want to see these people, they won't come. Especially those who have already come with some sort of bad intentions.
But NADMO might have registered these persons and gotten to know their places. Is there nothing we can do? Is it a helpless situation?
It's quite a helpless situation. Let's assume a lot of them will not even give NADMO the correct addresses, if indeed they are sneaking in and using the open opportunity to come into the country to do something. And like I said, most of the people holding Ghanaian passports are not even Ghanaians. You remember last week at the Western Region border, they arrested, they accosted some drug peddlers who were using an Ivorian car registered, obviously. They couldn't arrest them, and they saw some ID with the person using the name Kwesi Asante. That name is even quite suspicious. It even shows you that criminals are now using our ID for their own convenience. And that is why I'm saying that the situation is hopeless. We have already let the cat out of the bag. So
I'm
moving
grateful.
forward, I think it's not too late for us to learn and go through the actual processes. And I think that government must also make good use of the various human resource capacities we have. We have NGOs who have security specialists government can easily consult if they are running out of ideas. But I think they just don't care. In the first place, before these people even came into this country, the Foreign Affairs Minister said they didn't even have money to bring them. So I think that government should not be paying services to our citizens.
I am grateful for your time with us. Emmanuel Kutin is the founder and the executive director of the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, talking to me about that. We're staying on this issue now. A civil society group known as the Future Group has petitioned the African Union to investigate reports of a supposed modern-day slavery in Libya. Some 127 Ghanaians were last week rescued from Libya after reports that these Ghanaians and some other black Africans were reported to have been subjected to inhumane treatment after giving away their lives' earnings. The group said the reports are heart-wrenching and are very serious crimes against humanity, and as such, AU must investigate the matter. Edmond Combat is the team lead for the Future Group, and he joins me in the studio. Edmond, grateful for your time with us. What do you seek to achieve with this call for AU to investigate this?
Actually, we're actually petitioning an agency, an institution within the AU.
Within the AU, not the AU.
To make sure that they investigate and bring justice to what is happening.
What do you intend to achieve with this?
As young people, we see it as a stain on our collective conscience. To see our colleague human beings being maltreated the way they were maltreated. You watch the videos and it's heart-wrenching, as we said. It was sad. Any of us could have been there. Even you, Bright, could have been there as a journalist if you found yourself in Libya that you were doing investigation. By virtue of the fact that you were black, you could be caught and sold into slavery. And this group that we belong to, we are about 130 young people, largely of African descent, and a lot of us travel. We also have a lot of service personnel as well as like military people and all of that. And we saw that any of us could be in that situation, and we shouldn't just sit down and then keep quiet and allow this kind of inhuman activities to be happening in this modern day era. That is why we did the petition.
The situation in Libya, a totally pseudo failed state. Too many groups running the country. You think AU can really do this investigation?
I disagree that it's a failed state. There is a government in Libya. There is a coalition government in Libya. It is well represented. It is recognized internationally. And that government is supposed to protect the citizens of Libya and non-citizens of Libya. Because if you read the AU Charter, any person of African descent, you have the right of movement to any part of Africa. And wherever you go, you should be treated as a human being with dignity and respect. Nobody should subject you to some kind of torture and cruelty. And we think that that should apply to every person. And if you look at what happened there, I read in the news that Ghana has brought some people, about 127, and Nigeria has also sent 240 people back to Nigeria, and other African countries are doing that. But as young people, we feel that if you look at what is going on, it appears there's really no future for us as a group of young people.
You suspect it's something deliberate?
Yes, I say that
the Libyan government is closing its eyes to what is happening?
The Libyan government is closing its eyes. The AU itself has shown that they are ineffective, and then the African government have shown there is no potency in the kind of leadership that they're providing. And I say this because this issue has been going on. African countries have embassies and missions in Libya.
We don't have, you know that.
Yes, I know Ghana doesn't have. Ghana had to go out. But a lot of the other African countries has missions in Libya. When Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown and removed, there has been a number of cases that were filed at the African court to make sure that some of the human rights violations were investigated. When we did our research, we realized that it started, some of them never ended. And what was sad is that the African Commission, which is being funded and paid to make sure that they investigate and prosecute people who lead this kind of activities, sat down and consent, and this thing has been continued until we are told that a CNN report is what is now making African leaders work. But if you read the UN Agency on Migration, they claim that from about last year and this year, they claim to have retrieved about 11,000 people who were trying to migrate to Europe. So all this thing that were happening, are they saying that as they were stopping those migration, they didn't know that there was slavery ongoing in Libya to the extent that people were sold for $200 and $400? That is not good, and it is very bad. So we petitioned the African Commission on Human Rights to do their duty, go and investigate what is happening there, and anybody that they found who is culpable of this should be prosecuted. And we are also asking that the Libyan government must render a public apology to the rest of the world to having sat down and allow this kind of things to happen. And if the Libyan government cannot do that work and they cannot protect their own citizens and citizens of Africa and the rest of the world, just like in the past, during Gaddafi's time, we were told that sovereignty didn't matter and Gaddafi was a dictator. If they can't, the African Union should step in and make sure that there is sanity that is brought into that.
They bring Libya to exactly. Finally, you think that the petition is likely to get their response?
Yes, it's likely to get the response because they are mandated to respond to any petition that is done under Article 55 of the African Charter. We qualify to petition for them to do what they are supposed to do, to investigate and prosecute. So we are hoping that within 15 working days, they will respond to the petition and then we'll take it from there.
Edmond, I'm grateful. We'll follow this closely and get you more results from there. Edmond Combat is the leader of a group, Future Group, petitioning an agency of AU to deal with the Libyan matter. Let's step on the brakes for now. When we come back, we'll tell you more right here on News at 10. Welcome back. The National TB Control Program is achieving results in the fight against the disease. New tools for case finding are actively being used to screen people who come through OPDs for symptoms related to TB. This is one of the tools for physically testing patients. Ghana is now promoting not only physical tools, but new systems to fight tuberculosis. The digital X-ray is a computer-aided diagnostic tool. It allows more people to be screened.
As a country, we are now promoting not just physical tools, but also new systems for case finding. Within health facilities, we are promoting what we call intensified case finding, where we are actively screening people who come through OPDs for symptoms related to tuberculosis and testing them. Then, physically, we are also using new equipment. We have a digital X-ray machine. Now, this is a digital X-ray machine allows us to be able to screen more people for chest-related signs of tuberculosis.
With this one, there's no film processing. There's no need for mixing of chemicals to process films in the olden days, but this one is a direct digital system. So as soon as you take the X-ray image, straight appears on the computer.
Then the Gene Expert machines. This is a molecular diagnostic tool. With government and donor support, about 90 of these have been placed in district hospitals. All regional and teaching hospitals are also equipped with the tools.
If you have somebody in Pumumbu-Yoyo, he's seen an X-ray, he doesn't understand it, we have copy immediately here in Korle Bu. And a radiologist can look at it and give him feedback what it means to enable him to work. Even without the presence of a radiologist, there's a software that can help him guess what the issue is, something to work with. And that is special, it's unique.
The Gene Expert can pick 99 out of 100 suspected cases. This improves work. The National TB Control Program says the new tools are already showing amazing results.
In terms of functionality and effectiveness and usefulness, the feedback we are getting from health staff is that it's amazing.
The National TB Control Program says the fight is getting more exciting as the program gets more sophisticated equipment to fight the disease. Samuel Kujawu, a lab technician at the Korle Bu Chest Clinic, explains how this has improved case finding.
When we're doing smear, you could start treating somebody until about 4 or 5 months when you want to do the follow-up smears to see whether the person is preparing, and you get smear positive, then you want to do culture to see whether the person is not having resistant organisms. So out of the culture, you get to know that no, this is not a tuberculous organism, but it's rather a non-tuberculous mycobacteria. But with the new technique now, that risk is no more there.
The National TB Control Program is asking all to report early with the assurance that the new tools will aid quick and early diagnosis and help in the treatment of the disease. Now let's touch some entertainment. The 2017 S concert was fun and well patronized. Shatta Wale performed 58 songs in 2 hours. Ozuwarai, however, reported that 3 headline acts, Samini, Ebony, left the venue after waiting forever for their turn to perform.
That's it.
At Accra Sports Stadium right about now, Shatta Wale has been on stage for almost 2 hours, and there are a lot of artists waiting to also mount the stage. Samini hasn't performed, Mr. Easy hasn't performed, Ebony hasn't performed, and it's 4 a.m. Samini is waiting to mount the stage, and basically there is some confusion of a sort here. Samini's people are trying to get on stage. They are trying to get on stage. So let's go and take some shots. No.
There's no confusion here. Just take your time.
Right, Ozuwarai was the show brought you all that. But Samini has urged event organizers to stick to their time and not take artists for granted. We'll tell you more about that later on. And of course, that's what happened there. But let's quickly jump into this one. Showbiz critic and general manager, MG Digital, under the MG Group, Francis Doku, wants other event organizers to put in adequate measures to forestall frictions among artists.
Yeah. I think we've seen this rivalry, especially between Shatta Wale and Samini and some other musicians for a while now. I mean, if you recall, some 2-3 years ago, about 3 years ago, at the S concert at the Accra Stadium, similar thing happened after everything. I mean, about Shatta's fans, Samini's fans, and that led into a long controversy.
But this is fresh. What do you think about this one?
Well, I mean, this is fresh also. Yeah. So I mean, talking on the basis that this should have been anticipated by the organizers so that adequate measures will be put in place to forestall some of these things. You know, for example, and as Samini said, you have a contract with an artist to perform for a certain time and to perform certain number of songs. I think that organizers need to make sure that they insist on that happening. Because if we don't, then you inconvenience one artist against the other, and all that. Some of these things will happen. So
let's look at this particular stage. The problem of other artists that Shatta Wale hijacked the show. How would that affect show organizing in Ghana, entertainment?
I don't think on that basis the artist should be the one to be blamed. Because he was performing on somebody's platform. It wasn't his own show that he organized that he would hijack it. It was somebody's show that he invited all of them to perform. So the person who's organizing the show should know what limits to put in place.
So you're not blaming Shatta?
No, I am not blaming him.
We'll tell you more about that on 3news.com. Just go there and update yourself on what happened at the show. Why has more story. That's how we're wrapping up the show for tonight. It was put together by Selom Aminyo. My name is Bright Nanafo. Have a good night, but stay right here on TV3. Good night.